At my dad's 60th birthday dinner, in front of our entire family, my sister suddenly grabbed the crutch out of my hand, ripped it away like she was pulling a toy from a child, and snapped it clean across her knee while shouting, "Stop faking it, you're not actually injured." The room went completely silent. Every fork stopped moving. Every conversation died mid-sentence. I just stood there, frozen, staring at the two broken pieces of aluminum in her hands, while my leg buckled underneath me. And when I hit the floor, the look on everyone's faces changed instantly. But by then, the damage had already been done. So tell me honestly, if someone humiliated you like that in front of your entire family, after everything you'd been through, would you forgive them? Or would you make sure they never forgot what they did? To understand how it got that far, you need to know a little about my family. My name is Daniel, I'm 29, and growing up I was always the reliable one. The quiet kid who didn't cause problems. My sister Rachel, on the other hand, was, well, the center of attention. She's 2 years older than me, loud, confident, the type of person who could walk into a room and instantly take control of it, and my parents loved that about her. They always called her the star of the family. Meanwhile, I was the background character, the dependable one who helped Dad fix things around the house, who picked Mom up from work when her car broke down, who never argued when Rachel got her way. I didn't mind it at first. That was just our dynamic. But as we got older, Rachel's personality changed from confident to competitive. Everything became a comparison. If I got a promotion at work, she'd suddenly start talking about how much more she earned. If I bought a car, she'd mention how hers was newer. It was like she couldn't stand the idea of me doing well unless she was doing better. About a year ago, I got into a pretty serious accident. I was driving home late from work when some guy ran a red light and slammed into the side of my car. The impact crushed the driver's side door and shattered my leg in 3 places. I still remember the sound of the metal bending and the pain shooting through my body like lightning. The doctor said I was lucky to be alive. But lucky didn't feel like the right word when I spent months learning how to walk again. Physical therapy became my life. Every step felt like someone was driving nails into my bones. And even after surgery and months of rehab, my leg still wasn't fully healed. That's why I had the crutch. The doctor said I'd probably need it for another few months before I could walk normally again. Most people in my life were supportive. My coworkers helped cover shifts while I recovered. My friends visited me during rehab. Even my parents seemed genuinely concerned at first. But Rachel? She never believed me. From the beginning, she kept making little comments. At first it was subtle. She'd say things like, "Wow, you're still milking that injury?" Or, people recover from broken legs all the time without acting like they're disabled. Forever. I tried to brush it off, thinking she was just being her usual sarcastic self. But the comments kept coming. Every time she saw me with the crutch, she rolled her eyes like it was some kind of performance. Once, during a family barbecue, she even joked that I probably enjoyed the sympathy, attention. That one actually hurt more than I expected. Because the truth is, I hated the crutch. I hated feeling weak. I hated needing help for simple things like climbing stairs. Still, I didn't confront her. I figured she'd eventually drop it once my leg healed completely. I just kept focusing on rehab and getting back to normal life. Then my dad's birthday came around. My mom planned this big dinner at a nice restaurant. She invited the entire extended family. Uncles, aunts, cousins, everyone. It was supposed to be a celebration. I almost didn't go because sitting for long periods made my legs stiff and painful. But my dad asked me personally. He said turning 60 felt like a big milestone and he wanted both his kids there. So I went. When I arrived, the restaurant was already packed with relatives laughing and talking. I leaned on my crutch as I made my way to the table. My cousin Mark helped pull out a chair for me, and for a while everything felt normal. We ordered food, told old family stories, toasted to my dad. But Rachel kept staring at my crutch like it personally offended her. I noticed it a few times throughout the evening. The little smirks. The raised eyebrows whenever someone asked how my recovery was going. Finally, halfway through dinner, my aunt asked me if physical therapy was helping. I told her honestly that it was slow but improving. That's when Rachel slammed her glass down on the table and said loudly, "Oh my God, are we still pretending this is real?" The whole table went quiet. I felt every pair of eyes shift toward us. I asked her what she meant, hoping she'd laugh it off. Instead, she leaned forward and said, "Come on, Daniel. It's been almost a year. No one needs a crutch. That long unless they're exaggerating." My mom told her to drop it, but Rachel just laughed. She stood up, walked around the table, and before I could react, she grabbed my crutch. I remember gripping it instinctively, confused, asking her what she was doing, and then she yanked it away from me. I lost my balance immediately. That's when she snapped it across her knee and said those words that are still burned into my memory. "Stop faking it, you're fine." The sound of the metal cracking echoed through the restaurant. My leg gave out instantly. I collapsed onto the floor in front of everyone. The pain shot through my leg so hard that I couldn't breathe for a second. I heard gasps from the table. Someone shouted my name. My cousin Mark rushed over and tried to help me sit up. Rachel just stood there holding the broken pieces like she'd proven some point. But the moment she saw the way my leg twisted when I fell, the color drained from her face, because it was obvious. I wasn't faking anything. My dad looked furious. My mom started yelling at Rachel, and the restaurant staff rushed over, asking if they should call an ambulance. Now, before I tell you what happened next, I want to ask you something. Because at that moment, lying on the restaurant floor, with my leg throbbing, and my sister staring at me like she'd just realized she'd made a terrible mistake, I had a choice to make. I could brush it off, say it was an accident, let the whole thing go to keep the peace in the family. Or I could finally stand up for myself after years of being the quiet one. So if you were in my position, humiliated, injured, and betrayed by your own sister in front of everyone, what would you have done? Seriously, think about it, because what I did next changed our family forever. The ambulance ended up taking me to the hospital because the fall aggravated my injury. Thankfully, nothing rebroke. But the doctor said the impact had strained the healing bone and set my recovery back weeks. When my parents came to visit the next day, they looked exhausted. Apparently, Rachel had spent the entire night crying and insisting. She didn't think I'd actually fall. She kept saying she thought I was pretending. My dad apologized to me on her behalf, but something inside me had shifted. For the first time in my life, I felt angry enough to stop being the easygoing son. A few days later, when Rachel texted me a half-hearted apology that basically said, "Sorry you got hurt, but you should understand why I thought you were exaggerating," I decided I was done protecting her. I replied with 3 words, "See you in court." You see, when she ripped that crutch away from me and broke it, she didn't just embarrass me. She caused an injury that required medical treatment. And according to the lawyer I spoke to, that counted as assault. The lawsuit shocked everyone. My parents begged me to reconsider. My mom said families shouldn't drag each other through legal battles. Rachel accused me of trying to ruin her life. But the truth was, she had already crossed a line that couldn't be ignored. For years, she treated me like I was invisible or inferior. That night, she humiliated me publicly and physically hurt me because she believed her own assumptions, more than reality. So I followed through. During the case, several family members who witnessed the incident testified. Even the restaurant had security footage showing exactly what happened. Rachel's confidence disappeared quickly once she realized the evidence was stacked against her. In the end, the court ordered her to cover my medical expenses and compensate me for the setback to my recovery. It wasn't some massive life-ruining amount, but it was enough to make a point. More importantly, it forced her to publicly acknowledge what she did. For the first time in our lives, she actually looked at me during the hearing and said she was sorry without any excuses attached. Our relationship still isn't the same. We barely talk now. But oddly enough, I feel lighter, like years of resentment finally lifted once. I stopped letting her treat me like a joke. My leg eventually healed, by the way. It took longer than expected because of that fall. But today I can walk normally again. Sometimes I still think about that moment in the restaurant, the sound of the crutch snapping, the shock on everyone's faces, the instant Rachel realized she'd gone too far. And honestly, I don't regret standing up for myself. If there's one thing I learned from this whole mess, it's that staying quiet doesn't always keep the peace. Sometimes it just teaches people that they can keep crossing your boundaries without consequences. So that's my story. I'm curious what you all think. Was I wrong for taking legal action against my own sister? Or would you have done the same thing after being humiliated and injured like that? If you were on my side, make sure to like this video. And if you enjoy hearing real dramatic stories like this, don't forget to subscribe because there are plenty more coming. Most importantly, share your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one. Thanks for listening to my story, and I'll see you all in the next one.